Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, it's Gemma, and this is episode 255 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast, and this one is about CFR 11, and I guess I would have to call it Girls Belonging, which is this wonderful thing that Loretta 1031 said, that we broke out for lunch on Saturday because of my dietary issues. We went over to a place called Urbane Cafe and just sort of debriefed, like, how's it going and all that. And Loretta said, you know, when we were all together, she said, I suddenly looked up and I just saw a group of little girls wanting to belong, and everybody was getting to belong. Everybody was happy and involved and felt like one of the group. And she said, it's such a beautiful vision. All these people who inside, they have just these sweet little girls who just want to be part of the group. So I had a weekend of girls belonging, and I think it's absolutely right. It's right to the heart of what the weekend was like. It was a fabulous CFR. And I have to admit, this episode is dedicated to Loretta because it would not have happened without her. I really did not know about doing such an intimate small CFR. It turns out it was a wonderful idea. And in the show notes, that first picture, you can see we're sitting at Eggs and Things, the group of us who stayed over in the hotel. So from left to right, that is Sue and Karen, both from Simi Valley, because we have another Karen, Red Karen, who also came up and taught one of the classes. So we have Sue and Karen, the sisters, and next to them, Marianne, and next to her, our own Potchkey, Barb, one of our real long-timers. And they're sitting on the bench at Eggs and Things waiting for our Sunday debrief brunch. Your comments are very welcome. You can comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can comment on our group on Ravelry. And then in the warm thanks department, Metro Rebecca, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for really like 3 or 4 full jugs of coffee that will basically float this podcast for an entire fiscal quarter. I mean, it was very, very kind of you. I don't know how to thank you. I deeply appreciate what you did there. Thank you so, so much. I cannot say enough warm things. I didn't want to cram that into the last episode because I was too wired with all the prep work, such as there was for CFR. But thank you, Rebecca. I'm so deeply grateful. It was extremely generous of you. And of course, I have to thank the folks who joined us at Cognitive Fiber Retreat 11. In no particular order, though, we have the Simi Valley sisters, Sue and Karen. And then we have Red Karen, Lefty Rebel, Knitter You Devil, Colleen, Maker's Acres, Drew of Drew Caitlin, Stacy, the Redoubtable Jedi Mom, Beth, and now I can't remember your name, your avatar name. I'm sorry, Beth, I should know it. Barb, our own dear Potchkey, Marianne, Sustainable Living, and of course, OH Mike. And if you're wondering what the OH stands for, if you were there, you would know. The ever wonderful Loretta 1031, and of course, I was there too. I also want to give an extremely warm tip of the hat to Leslie and Julie of Laser Sheep and Oink Pigment. At least this time I got their names. I'm always forgetting their names and always scrambling them because they travel as a pack. They brought so much to the party by bringing their beautiful yarns. And of course, it was a little slice of purgatory for me because they were displaying in the front room, the living room of my little suite. So I had to keep walking past all that stuff. Oh, Lordy, it was hard not to. Well, anyway, I did buy yarn. I bought a skein from each of them, in fact, and I am really looking forward to using these. And of course, as always, I thank my communities on Finch, on Reddit, on the ground in the SCV and the AV, and of course, my listeners in this group. Meanwhile, in case you were wondering about Finch, the Mystery Manse, we've all had 15 days in it now, and my birds have gone through it, and they both passed their 200 adventures mark, which surprised me how fast that next 200 went. And they are now back in their respective locations. One's in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and one is in Sydney, Australia. So yeah, that's one for you, Chris. One of my burbs is in your turf somewhere. Well, you know, Australia's a huge country, of course. At any rate, now here's the thing you weren't expecting. CFR 11.5. Yes, kids, I went to CFR 11 thinking, this is it. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to do this again. And I came out of it saying, okay, so CFR 11 will happen on February 7th, 2026. CFR 12, well, CFR 11.5, sorry, is February 7th, 2026. CFR 12 is scheduled for November 14th, 2026. There is an info thread up for CFR 11.5 over on Ravelry. Now, kids, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this. Let me quote all of you. Gemma, have you lost your mind? Yes. Yes, I have. What happened was we lost our beloved Burbank mob. They didn't spend the night, but boy, that is Beth and Colleen and Stacy. And let me tell you right now, boy, I hope I got everybody in that, right? I have to tell you right now, without them, let me be clear, we had so much fun with the Burbank Mafia. And I'm so grateful to you for coming up. I really am. Let me think. Colleen and Drew and Stacy and Beth. I knew I was missing somebody. I am so grateful to you. I am so grateful to you. Please don't hear this as you didn't spend the night, so you don't count. But, well, they went away. And the next thing you knew, we were sitting at brunch on Sunday morning debriefing. And the whole group was, let's do it again. And what was there was a group of, I think everybody there except like me and Loretta were retired. And we just said, well, why not? I mean, if we just want to get together and do this again, and I'll come back to why that would make sense. But anyway, so we sat there and picked dates. And I had one person really powerfully arguing for let's do it in the winter. And somebody else was powerfully arguing for let's do it a year from now, but not in October, too much competition. And we suddenly realized we're a small group, and what is to stop us from just getting together and doing this again, just knitting together? If we get vendors, we get vendors. If we don't, we don't. Now, we're going to try for vendors, but that will come out in the blather, I suspect. But anyway, we said, all right, let us just have both dates. And we picked a date in the winter. We were avoiding tax season and Christmas season and trying to avoid knockers that goes on up in Northern California that a few of us go to. And then we talked about next year avoiding the Jewish high holy days and avoiding things like Lambtown, and there's one more, as well as the SoCal Fiber Festival, which is a big thing at the LA Fairgrounds now every year. I think they're in their third year and they're getting very, very solidly established. So we just decided, let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, because I really don't have to do a lot except organize a room. The other thing that surprised me was I said, well, then we shouldn't charge. Everybody said, charge $10. I said, why? And they said, did you spend the money? I said, yes, I did. We had goodie bags, so to speak. I'd have to say we had goodie flash drives, which involved a paid pattern and a flash drive with all the fun free patterns I could dig up rather rapidly. So everybody got this flash drive that had a connector for a Type-C connector and also for the old type AB. So you could plug it into a PC or any phone that has the C connector. So I really worked at this, guys. And then, of course, Loretta did the absolute wonderful thing where she said, well, why? Why not just have a link to a website where they can also download all this stuff? So we did that too. And we have a Google link, a document that has all the links on Loretta's Google account, and everybody got that on their flash drive. And then we have a flash drive. So that was the goodie bag idea. I'm pounding the arms of my chair. I'm so excited. So believe it or not, we are heading towards Cognitive Fiber Retreat 11.5, scheduled for February 7th, 2026. And it will be at that same hotel, the Valencia, the Courtyard by Marriott. Again, if we get 50 people, that's great. But if we get 5 people, that's great. You want the heaven's honest truth? I'll be there. If you want to come, come. If you don't want to come, don't come. I will be taking that weekend and parking myself in the hotel. I will knit by my lonesome if I must and take myself out for fun things. I don't care, but it's just a thing that we can try in the winter. It was pointed out that we are an older group, the group that were there this year. Many of us were older. And we don't know how many more of these we get. And so we just decided we got to make hay while the sun shines. So there we go, February 7th, 2026. Mark your calendars and feel free to look at the information thread. CFR is becoming a different creature as I age. And we've already lost a significant number. Our Northern California group basically aged out. Heaven love them. They're all doing knockers, and I'm really pleased. Not all of them are that old, but there's the group. Knockers is too far for me to go. I tried it once, and I had a great time, but the requirements for the travel, because it's kind of in a backwater, if you're coming from where I'm coming from, it's just too much to do, because I have other obligations that I must use my vacation time for. So I'm not likely to go to Knockers. I don't know if I'm even still invited, because I haven't gone in a few years. Imagine if I begged. But the point is, that group aged out of CFR. It is just too hard for them to keep coming down to where we are. But we have a wonderful group coming up from the LA Spinning Guild. And I hope they continue to support us, frankly. They were fabulous. Okay, so I will come back to this, but you can sign up now if you want to. I will register you over there. I want to point out that Loretta 1031 left a message on that information thread for CFR 11, the one we just had, about donations for her crocheting club, and she scored really well on that. And I also want to give a big warm thanks to people who brought hooks and yarn for her. I published information on what you can find at our local Michael's for embroidery. I'll probably update that and move that over to the 11.5 thread along with Loretta's message, because I want to keep those in front of the group. There was work I need to do. Our own wonderful Drew published a response to the main thread that includes excellent resources for black work that she wanted to share. It's so good. It was so good. Okay, what's on my hooks and noodles? I'm going to leave that one in. What's on my hooks and needles? Well, first, I did a major yarn toss, as you can tell, last week. And my study was a complete shambles for the whole week. It was horrible in here. I'm broadcasting from there right now. It was so horrible because I just had yarn bins pulled out everywhere and stuff all over the floor. And it was so good. It was such a good yarn toss. I did yarn toss my bins in the master bedroom. There's 3 of them. I believe I emptied one of them, but I then refilled it by redistributing yarn from here in the study. And I cleaned up the study. And that involved running the Roombas multiple times over the floors because there was so much ingrained dirt and such. And my study now is wild. The desk is cleared off. The big table, big craft table, not so much. The floor is very clear. All my project bags are sort of stacked around me in the order I'd like to work on them. So I have to say my first finished project was my study. It is amazingly different in here. And also it made me realize how many project bags I have from different functions I've been to. And I'm making them into pillows. Because Steffi Joe left this gigantic amount of stuffing last year. I brought it with me this year. People really didn't use it. But anyway, this is at CFR 11, I mean. I've been using it to stuff the pillows, and I have been distributing the pillows to our long-term attendees of CFR. So it's been very cool. Okay, But I also did a crocheted mini chickie for CFR. Now the joke is, she is my 10th emotional support chicken. However, she's called 11 because she's from CFR 11. I used the worst possible yarn I could use, which is Noro Okajira, I think it's called. It's a cotton blend with a touch of wool, and heaven only knows what else. It's Noro. Yeah, it was horrible for the project, but there she is. It's hard to see her beak, but she's got it. There is little 11. It was so grim. Let me tell you, our project for the weekend was this mini chick. Karen from Simi did one. Hers came out beautifully. She did the knitted version in a rainbow yarn. Hers came out so well. Mine, well, we love 11 for who she is. She's on my desk looking at me with her head slightly cocked right now. But she did work. I'm sort of surprised. I didn't think she was going to work out. It was a poor yarn choice. An acrylic yarn, yeah, or a worsted weight wool blend type yarn would do this much better. The thick, thin, and the hand of the cotton, it just was too challenging. In progress, well, you remember my stash toss. 77 skeins in, but 117 skeins out. Yay, I believe I took at least 76 skeins out of my stash, and it all went away. Jasmine, knit more. Gigi, knit more. Genevieve, knit more. When I get around to it, you will be getting a box of the better yarns, and some of them are so hideous that I will be giving them straight to Goodwill. That nobody in the right mind would use them. You just have to believe me. But we certainly have a big carton of decent stuff, including some acrylics that would probably work well for you. Wow, so the stash toss is loverly, and my world is so much more, in a healthy way, empty. And I can find the yarns I need to finish my projects, which is making me extremely happy. Meanwhile, the Virgo sweater, remember that? It is in Malabrigo Rios. The color is Virgo. A sort of speckled green and pink and pale yellow, really wild, cream. Anyway, some dark green. I went back to it because it's almost finished, and I'm working on the sleeves. For that, I used the Llama Love pattern, which is actually a Fair Isle pattern, and I did not do Fair Isle. I just wanted a pattern with a solid build. I do not quite like the tension around the Fair Isle panel. I did have this problem when I did that same pattern with Halloween cats. This is a problem that can happen. One of the things I will probably consider is actually going down a size. That I might just be knitting it a little too big, but also I might need to take the needles down a size, at least for the yoke part, because it came out just a little puckery. However, it is gorgeous. I did not like it last spring and was stopped on the sleeves and just lost heart. Now I've been back at it since CFR 11, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I have renewed energy on the September sweater. I'm also working my way down one of those sleeves. It is taking forever. I don't know why. And the tension just looks a little different than the rest of the sweater. Still can't figure out why. Went back and reviewed. I keep calling it the heathered half crochet. No, it is the herringbone half double crochet. Anyway, I keep going back and checking, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but you really can't tell with that particular colorway, and it is gorgeous. So hopefully I will be pushing my way through those two big sweaters to finish. And you can see I have a lot of other things to work on in the list. I have not done anything else. Last week was all about CFR 11, let me tell you. By the way, hopefully I will post on social media some of the pictures for CFR 11. They are certainly here in the show notes. No work on the spinning, believe it or not, but I did sell 2 of my wheels at CFR 11, so we say goodbye to one of my Ashfords, not the electric wheel. They're portable. I don't remember the name of it. It is not the Kiwi, and strangely, it is not the Traveler, and I can't remember the actual name of it, but it folds up, had its own bag, got rid of all of that. Thank you, Sustainable Living, for taking that, and also I sold the Shack, I believe also to her. Oh, what a relief to have those wheels out of the living room. To not have them sitting there just gaining dust. It was so great to get rid of them and all the bobbins. It's just fantastic. So what is the strategy this week? By the way, what is this week? As I record this, it is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. It's been a pretty wild week, so I'm recording very late in the week, but I really want to get this out because people are starting to message me saying, hey, what happened at CFR 11? So what is the strategy this week? Well, I can hear some of you saying, of course, and that's good because it should be obvious. Get into a huddle. Change can happen in a small, committed group. That was kind of what I learned at CFR in a sort of backhanded way. That when we have a small group, we have this togetherness from Saturday morning on. That it was a much more united group. It was, I wouldn't call it emotional, and I wouldn't call it religious, but it was kind of spiritual. To be honest, it was, compared to the first CFR ever, way back in 2009, it had that feeling to me of this real spiritual depth that people came and they came to be in a group and to be knitted together, pardon the horrible pun, and to have this supportive, affectionate experience. I will be honest, I have felt like an outsider at some of my own CFRs. Not too much recently, but in the original series, I was working so hard. When I got there, I'd be so tired. And I felt a little bit on the outside. And I had such a wonderful experience here that to me it was very reminiscent of the very first CFR, where everybody was so into it, so enthused, so excited about what we were doing. And that happened again here. It was just a wonderful thing. And I really kept thinking about Loretta's comment about we're all girls with that inner, I hate to say inner child because it's so trite in psychotherapy, but there is this young person inside us who is always a little afraid, I think, of being left out or not fitting in whatever. And we had a lot of social difference in the group. I would not say we were all clones of each other, but it was very wonderful. The group came together in this really nice way. And I just felt like we were all there in a very full way. And I don't think anybody felt on the outside of the group. We really worked at it. And I have to say, suddenly instead of having no CFR next year, I've got 2 of them. What do I think those CFRs will be? Small, committed groups. And I'll come back to what the plans are around that. But you know, what I really learned is something, and I'm going to give somebody credit here. 2 people. One would be Loretta, and the other would be Jasmine Knitmore. And I have to say, sort of tangentially, Gigi Knitmore, who trained Jasmine this way. So I have to kind of get everybody into this. But they, in their ways for years, the 3 of them have always been saying this to me, that Jasmine does heavy volunteerism in her kids' lives. And she learned that from Gigi, who did it. And Loretta is having this cosmic experience training kids in a school where the kids are economically challenged. And she's training them to crochet. And they're talking about how these little girls, mostly, actually she had a little boy in the class too, though. She showed a video of this little boy making hat. How they are finding togetherness despite all their social differences because they all crochet. And I'm getting it again with a couple of my teenage patients who are really struggling because they feel lonely. And I say to them, well, what do you do for fun? And they sit alone for fun and play video games. And I realize that there is this core human behavior where when we want to make friends and connection, we find a common interest and we go and do that. And so when I go to a knitting group, nobody really cared a whole lot about too many intimate details in my life. What we were focused on is this thing we all had in common. And it built this enormous common spirit of just affection and support and helpfulness. So, I have to say the strategy is, if you want change, get in a small, committed group. And it's committed to a special interest. And if there are differences in the group, the act of committing to that special central issue can really overcome all those other differences, that people can come together about what is the best for them instead of coming together in a mob, instead of using anger, instead a small committed group working towards the positive. Oh shoot. Well, also I had a great run Sunday morning, got up early, went out. It was freezing and I was in short shorts, little running shorts and a t-shirt. Oh my Lord, I was so cold. But I went down to one of the parks in Santa Clarita near our hotel. And I went out and decided to run for 30 minutes. So I figured, okay, when I run on hills, that's like 2.2 miles at the most. Oh no, I was so cold. It was 2.8 miles, not really counting my cool down walk. I was so cold, I went off like a 65-year-old deer. That is to say, yeah, can't say I ran like a young doe or something, but man, did I go out for a run. I was so cold, I had to run. It was very funny. But it was rewarding because I'm running up the trail and I'm running on a gentle uphill. And this young woman comes flashing downhill towards me, really moving. And I said, go, sister, go, runner. And she laughed and she said, look at you. And she went by, thumbs up. And I was like, okay, that feels good. Okay, at least she didn't say I'm cute. Because if there's one thing that annoys me, it's people saying, aren't you cute? You're still running and you're old. Yeah, I know. You just want to strangle them. They mean it well. You have to keep saying they mean it nicely, but I am not cute. All right. Anyway, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I get up to where I'm going to turn around. There's a tree across the trail, so it seemed like a good moment to turn around. To my shock, this young woman comes flying over the top of the foliage of the tree. Now remember, the tree's on its side. And I looked at her and I said, wow, go, runner, go. And she looks at me and she goes, you go, queen, you go. And I thought, now I am fulfilled. She called me a queen. So it was a lovely, lovely run, but I was just blue with cold by the time I got back to the Prius of Love, let me tell you. And this weekend, the beloved son is running the Space Rock Trail Race. You may remember that I ran that last year. I did not run the actual race. I was thinking about running it. So I went up early one morning and ran the course. Holy manoli. Yeah, he can run that, baby. I'm not doing it. But I'm glad I did the course. I think it took me like 2 or 3 hours. It's very steep up and down in Vasquez Canyon rocks in the park there. Oh, baby. So he's going to do that on Saturday. On Sunday, if I'm lucky, he will join me Sunday morning for the Jeepers Creepers run. I have yet to pull together my costume, but there must be a costume. It is the only costume chance I will have this year, except for the little cat headband I'm wearing in session. But anyway, we are doing perfectly well, and I am grateful that I got to do a run at CFR. I'm amused, too, because people kept saying to me, did you run? Did you run this morning? I love you guys. So by the time you hear this, I will not yet have done the Jeepers Creepers. It will be the day after. And then you can see the rest of my schedule. Okay. Fluffy books. I did finish A Sorcerer Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. The link is in the show notes to both of these. I enthusiastically recommend it. It's such a good, fun, cool book. T. Kingfisher has never let me down. She can be a little creepy, and I don't like particularly creepy books, but this is one of the greats. All right, I was also listening to Wrong Witch to Hex With by Molly Harper. This one is free on Amazon if you're a Prime member. This is not one of Molly Harper's better ones. Now, her books are pretty fluffy, but this one just feels like she ground it out really fast, had some deal with Amazon. It's kind of short. It's kind of clumsy. There's definitely clumsy moments in the writing. And there's one sequel, and apparently there's going to be a third. It's a little darker than some of the other books by her, but I enjoyed it. I'm looking at the next one to listen to at night. Something I really like. Oh, thank you, Drew and Red Karen. What do I really like? Black work embroidery and Russian grafting. And you can see the pictures. Oh, my pathetic black work. I really needed better magnification than I was getting from my glasses. So I only got to do the square. But that was all I need because I have a home designed project that I want to do. Now, if you look at that, it's on the left. It's a red square on white even weave. I think that's Ada cloth, but it's a very, very high thread count. I have a slightly lower thread count, and I'm going to move on to doing an embroidery project. I'm going to try to do it on a black t-shirt. We will see how that goes. But I am so grateful. Both of the classes were superb. And if you're following Jedi Mom, go look at her stuff on Instagram, because she did a more full pattern. I did not want to put up the picture of the beautiful pattern that Drew made available to us, because I didn't feel good without Drew's permission. So you can see my very plain little red square there. I cannot wait to do more of this. It is an incredibly cool thing to do. Meanwhile, our own Karen, that is Red Karen as she calls herself, Lefty Rebel Knitter, she taught us how to Russian graft. And what a cool thing. We had just a little tiny bit of homework. We made each half of that square on the diagonal. We made 2 triangles. And I did it the night before. And then we learned to graft it. I have to tell you, I did not realize how easy Russian grafting is. Now mine looks a little lumpy, I'm going to be honest, but once you get it, and you say, oh my goodness, why have I ever grafted any other way? Well, I'll tell you why. Russian grafting works fabulously on garter stitch. So if you are doing a knitted emotional support chicken, this is the thing to sew the halves of the tails together. To do this would work fabulously. If you do it on stockinette, I believe you get a raised ridge. Nonetheless, this was really cool. Karen did a super duper job teaching it. She had a huge list of notes. She gave us all of the, and by the way, you should know, conditions. What a great set of classes. I have to say, I wasn't that excited about the classes. Boy, am I glad I took them. And I have to say, I do believe in 11 CFRs, this was the first time I got to sit through a whole class and actively participate. And I loved it. Thank you so much. We already know at CFR 12, the mob from Burbank is going to teach weaving, and they're bringing a whole bunch of looms. We are going to have so much fun. And if you're coming to CFR 12, this is in November of 2026, you really should bring any looming projects you have. That's a horrible pun, isn't it? Any projects you have on looms, any looms you want to bring, any size loom. I mean, I think we really want to support the Burbank gang and just really have a loom in on weaving. So very, very exciting. Meanwhile, Project Back episodes on Proton, still 1 to 50 of the original series, because I am not able to get there. So hopefully in November, I will be able to get to episodes from the new series. Put a lid on it, not a thing. Let's get on to the blather. Oh boy. Okay, so here we go. I got there on Friday evening, and I walked in the door of the hotel, and I was so scared. I looked at the lobby instinctively because I'm used to a mob of CFR people. Nobody. And I thought, oh no, this is terrible. And then I realized, tucked away behind a little room divider, because they've slightly changed the lobby, there were 2 older women. And then I realized I knew them, and I realized they were knitting. So I checked in, and fortunately, I held out for a suite because I have that privilege. I'm a gold member at Marriott, And I held out for the suite, and that was good because I got a huge space. The suite was unbelievably large. And then I went over, and I started talking to them, and I said, oh, I was so afraid nobody would come. And their mouths dropped open. This was Sue and Karen, the sisters coming up from See Me. Their mouths dropped open, and they said, are you kidding me? We've been talking about this all year. And I thought, oh, how wonderful. And that's where everything got magic. So Friday night, we walked over to the neighboring hotel, which is a Suites Hotel, Hampton Court, I think. No, I don't know if it's a Hampton Court or what it is. We walked over there, and we got a dinner over there, and it was great. We got everybody to go over who was there, which was nice. We had a few people. It was a little hard to walk, and Loretta shuttled people in her van, because it's a little uphill, even though it's reasonably close. So we went over there, and we had a great dinner, and I started the chicken, which was a mistake, because you really got to count on that chicken. Nonetheless, we had a lovely, lovely evening. I don't think I have pictures from it. I don't know why. I think because I was having too much fun. Saturday morning, I got up and I put all the yarn on a table with an index card that said, please take free. And I also put out my big basket of woobles. And I had them out. And to my surprise, a whole bunch of kids showed up and took woobles. It was very cute. I was walking down the hall and this kid who was about maybe 4 and his little sister who looked like she was about 2.5, 3, he walked up and he took the bee out of my basket and his mother said, no, no. And I said, yes, yes, please take it. And I said, you can give your sister one, but be careful. Those eyes may not be safe for her. And before the mother could say anything, he rootled through the basket and found the baby bee, which had embroidered eyes, and handed it to her. And that was the beginning of that. So I get down to the lobby, and you can see a picture of me with a group of kids. They all came over to thank me. The littlest kid was making the lion growl in my face, and I was growling back. And they all just wanted to talk and say hello. You can also see the lady at the desk. She came over, and she said, this is great. And I think she asked Colleen to teach her how to crochet. But what surprised me was the desk crew, the cleaning crew, and then there were 2 representatives from Southern California Edison because they had to have a shutdown center at the hotel. They came over. Everybody wanted to know about this. Everybody got excited. So it was so cool. So we got to give away all those woobles, which I feel great about. It's such a relief to have them gone. Yes, they're wonderful. Yes, I'm glad I made them. Yes, they're in the hands of little kids. What could be better? And then we went on and we did Drew's class on blackwork embroidery. And you can see the picture there. It's Marianne and our own Stacy, Jedi Mom, and Drew. I don't have my glasses on. Who else is in the picture? No, I think that's all who's in that picture. But you can see them, and and Drew is holding up her project and showing us. And the next picture, you can also see there's Stacy on the left, and then Drew, and then Beth lounging back on the couch, and Loretta 1031, and we're all working on stuff. And the next picture, it could be, that third picture could be Red Karen with Russian grafting or the embroidery class. I can't tell, but you will see Lefty Rebel Knitter. Her face is turned away from us, and Colleen is on her right, and then past her is our own Marianne, Sustainable Living, and our own Stacy is looking down with her trademark happy smile. And there is Red Karen talking about Russian grafting, going through her notes, and behind her you can see Stacy and Drew crouching over, seeing what she's doing. We had such a good time. There's part of the group. In the next picture you can see there's our Beth back on her couch. And then I believe we have Karen and Sue, and that's my left knee sticking forward there. So we're all just sitting in the lobby working together. And there's our Potchki in the picture with the red, I think she's wearing a red tank top in that picture. Anyway, she's sitting right next to me, and it looks like she's messing around with some fiber. Yes, she brought a really cool portable wheel, and I cannot remember the make of it. And you can see in that picture, there's Beth, and then Karen from See Me with Sue from See Me Next Door, and then our own Potchki, Barb. And then we all went to dinner at the Marriott. No, we didn't. We lost the group from... No, we did not lose. No, Beth is still there. We lost the Burbank group, but we still have Beth there. Okay, I was thinking Beth departed with the Burbank Mafia, and I'm wrong. But you can see us all at dinner there, and we're just having a really good time. There is Marianne and Beth, and I think that's... I cannot see well enough. That might be Karen and Mike and Loretta and Sue and Barb, and I'm standing there taking the picture. And we had just a lovely time. I managed to get to bed at a reasonable hour. And then the next morning we went and had the debriefing brunch at Eggs and Things. Most of the group went. We had a great time, and we did the planning. So the planning is pretty exciting. Now, this also leads to a truth that I decided that I should go, and the group encouraged this, so I love them for this. I'm going to go down to SoCal Fiber Festival. I'm actually going to spend the night down there. There's a good Sheraton on the fairgrounds there that I know of old, and I will spend the night there. Loretta is probably going to join me. I'm going to take the train and the buses down because I really hate the drive out to Pomona. I don't feel like doing it in all the traffic. And I will spend the night there because I just want to enjoy the SoCal Fiber Festival. And I'm going to try to talk to a bunch of more local vendors because we brought Laser Sheep and Oink up from almost San Diego. And I'm not sure how they feel about coming up again. They did make their costs apparently, so that was great. We're so grateful they came. But I am going to see if I can get other vendors who might want to come up because I'm not sure yet if Oink and Laser Sheep want to come back. And also, we now have 2 CFRs. So we will see how that goes. So I'm going to scope that out. So that is another glorious thing to look forward to. And I realized I should put that on the calendar for November. Yes, it'll be right between the Marathon 5K and the Turkey Trot 5K. Yuck, yuck, yuck. So you can see all the usual links, the calendar, upcoming events, information, to help people who are trying to untangle from ice. And then I'm rushing a little bit because I have to see patients. Minerva gets the last word. Believe it or not, Minerva's last word was, "I was not forgotten." What happened was I realized I had a Ring video camera that was supposed to go in the front of the house but has not yet made it there. So I charged that puppy up and I pointed it towards Minerva's feeder. So that became the cat cam. And there you can see a picture. I was thinking the cat cam did not go off. I just went to bed on Friday night and it went off. And I looked it up and there she was eating from her electric feeder. You can see her there with her automatic feeder. And then I started calling to her because there is a microphone and you can see her coming over to investigate, walking towards the camera. And then it broke my heart. She rubbed against it and purred. I nearly died. And the last picture, of course, is my son heard my voice and came into the bathroom and turned on the light and realized I was talking through the camera. So there is my son also posing for the camera, and a million thanks to him because he twisted the camera so that it had a proper orientation. And so there we are. But the last word is even Minerva and my son in their own sweet ways did CFR 11. All I can tell you was it was a fabulous experience. I am so looking forward to February. I am so deeply grateful to Loretta for really pushing me towards this and helping me when I was ready to despair and really, really showing me that CFR is and always has been about everybody hanging out and all the girls belonging. It was a wonderful experience. I cannot tell you, I cannot say it enough. Because, as Minerva would tell you, all of us were a community, including O.H. Mike. You know who you are. I can hear Marianne's laughing, I hope, at this point. And Minerva and my son, we all were in the community. And, you know, when you take care of the needs of the community, you have wonderful experiences like I had this past weekend. And on top of it all, you are taking care of the needs of the individual. And on that wonderfully happy note, everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and don't forget to go look up the information for CFR 11.5. We're going to have another one, and another, I hope, until I just run out of gas. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Saw a sign on the path, all seekers this way. A fairy sat and laughed and threw a petal my way. As I neared the bridge, two soldiers stood and stared. No one passes by us, but hey, you're welcome here. Carried on down the road to the marketplace. I was still alone, no one knew my face. Then a stranger sang with voice like the wind. Then the hills began to sing. Welcome in. Time rolls on. Ain't no good to sit and moan. Time rolls on, and so we travel on. Never did I imagine what a dawn could be, till I opened my eyes to see. It was welcoming me. At the end of my days, on my way home, I paused a while to gaze upon the sacred stone. There it stood in the middle of the holy domain. Then the people came out to say, welcome home again. Time rolls on, and so we carry on. Time rolls on. Ain't no good to sit and moan. Time rolls on, and so we travel on.